The purpose of this video is for EDGS 535, Theories of Teaching and Learning, voiceover for a PowerPoint. This is Debunking Myths by Jeremiah Erskine for Professor Susan Sparrow's class, and this is December 21st, 2019. The 10% Rule. In the article Debunking Neuromyths, 8 Common Brain Myths Set Straight, Christopher Berglund addresses the misconception that we only use 10% of our brain. And this is false. A healthy person uses 100% of his or her brain, and that is cited from paragraph 11 within the reading. I remember hearing this myth when I was a child and telling it to my sister, who in turn got mad at me. I remember telling her that, and my mom actually verified that with my sister, that we only use 10% of our brain. And at the time, I thought it was a pretty funny thing when she got mad at me and that my mom was able to tell her that. But once again, that was probably about 20-something years ago. Busy brain. The human brain is very complex and completes millions of tasks. The brain is responsible for controlling our entire body. It is thought that the 10% myth came about to explain individuals like Albert Einstein, who had towering intellect, and that is cited from Boyd in 2008. Boyd wrote, "It turns out, though, that we use virtually every part of the brain, and that most of the brain is active almost all of the time." Gordon adds, "Let's put it this way. The brain represents 3% of the body's weight and uses 20% of the body's energy." And that is cited from paragraph 5. 100% of the brain. In Carey's book, How We Learn, Carey writes, "Yes, it's true that some people are born with genetic advantages in memory capacity and processing speed, although no one has yet identified the intelligence gene or knows with any certainty how one would function. Still, a brain is a brain is a brain, and the healthy ones work all the same way." Cited from page 22. Boyd wrote, "Although it's true that any given moment, all of the brain's regions are not currently firing, brain researchers use imaging technology and have shown that, like the brain's muscles, most are continually active over a 24-hour period. Evidence would show that over a day you would use 100% of the brain." And that is cited from paragraph 7 of the article. Perceptual learning. In chapter 9 of How Do We Learn, it broke down the good eye, as Carey states in the book. Carey uses this in referencing baseball and chess. I like that he correlated the two and how the mind does quick analysis of the situation in order to how to react. I know a little bit about basics of chess and how much understood it is in the game that we need to plan ahead. Much like other games, Carey wrote that the superior performance of stronger players derives from the ability of those players to encode the position into larger perceptual chunks, even consisting of a configuration of pieces, and that's cited from page 178. When he was quoting chess grandmasters Chase and Simon. In doing this, the player is planning their moves in advance and seeing the game unfold ahead of them. Just as the athlete is learning to have a good eye for a pitch, they are looking and analyzing quickly. When subbing, regardless of grade levels, a lot of the time students can get stuck on worksheets or tests. I always remind them that it's not always about finding the right answer, but sometimes about finding the wrong answers as well, the ones that don't work. This is a great help for younger students, as it helps them in looking at what the possible answers could be rather than all the given answers. By doing this, we are using perceptual learning, where we are able to use our senses to concentrate on what is needed and filter out the rest. Carey wrote, "Both baseball players see only the flares of motion that are relevant to judging a pitch's trajectory, nothing else." And that's cited from page 184. Carey wrote, "Perceptual learning is active. Our eyes, our ears, or other senses are searching for the right clues." Also from page 184. I always encourage students to look for clues or answers that don't fit in looking for their answers. The final truth of the brain. Our brain is really a complex mystery of how it works, and very little is understood about how it works together. Boyd wrote, "What's not understood is how clusters of neurons from the diverse regions of the brain collaborate to form consciousness. So far, there's no evidence that there is one site for consciousness, which leads experts to believe that it is truly a collective neural effort. Another mystery hidden within our crinkled cortices is that out of all the brain cells, only 10% are neurons. The other 90% are glial cells, which encapsulate and support neurons, but whose function remains largely unknown. Ultimately, it's not that we use 10% of our brains, merely that we only understand about 10% of how it functions." That's cited from paragraph 11. It may be more likely that we are only utilizing about 10% of our brains at a time. After that, I have my references cited within the PowerPoint. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this.